Today it's all about VTOL. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's review, we're talking about a brand new VTOL that came out. I saw Ali Shimano's review a while back and he was line of sight testing it. We have done that as well. We set it up in ArduPilot. It already has a flight controller in here. If you don't know what a VTOL is, it means vertical takeoff and land. And you may have seen around the world news videos of people taking off in these giant VTOLs, what we call like VTOL taxi. But what's cool about this is I was telling my friend Dan, who came out with our flight test with us today, that this VTOL is so cool because it allows us to go on the side of a mountain. And previously we've been flying these FPV wings that are very similar shape to this, pretty much exactly, and we have to hand toss them off the side of the mountain, you know, and come back and try to land where there's rocks and things, and we need kind of a flat surface to land. So this allows us not to have a flat surface to land on. We can come back to the side of a cliff and we can land just like a multi-rotor or a drone. So that really lets us fly fixed wing anywhere we want to go, and that's the coolest thing about VTOL. If you're into FPV wings or fixed wing FPV, this is the coolest of the cool. So we're gonna set this up today with a little Walksnail. I'm gonna show you some unstabilized footage in this review, and I'm gonna show you some decased DJI 03 with stabilized 4K video with Rocksteady 2.0 on there. So you can get an idea of what it's like to fly this. It's not as smooth as a drone. It has a shorter wingspan on here, and it kind of looks like a bat wing, I was telling Dan. And it also has 3 motors. The front motors tilt down on the flip of a switch, and I'm going to show you that coming up in the full review on the bench. And the motors themselves, they are running 6-inch props, so very cool. When these tilt forward, this back motor stops, and then you have aileron or elevon type of setup back here. And when you come back to land, flip the switch, go back into multi-rotor mode, and you come down and land as soft as a feather. And I'm going to show you a crash as well, because I did crash mine and I broke something. I'm going to show you what broke in my crash test. So durability test, flight test with 2 different FPV systems on the FIMI Manta. I hope you enjoy. But here we go. So we're gonna attempt to fly this VTOL now, and I have my friend Dan here with me. He's gonna do a little bit of chasing today, and hopefully we'll have some footage between both the VTOL and the Nazgul sitting on the left over there. So we're gonna go ahead and take off now, and we're gonna see how it goes. ArduPilot and Walksnail. And I have really low rates in here, so it says my Walksnail's overheating, so I'm gonna go ahead and take off. And I'm just testing line of sight right now. All right, there goes Dan, you guys. We don't have any position lock with this VTOL, but we do have GPS return to home. So I'm just gonna kind of cruise out in the field here a little bit. That is so scary. It's such a weird looking thing compared to like flying a 5-inch quad. All right, let's do a little forward flight. Well, now that we know that it hovers, we're just gonna cruise out into the field. I need to get a little more altitude. Thing looks like a bat wing. That's crazy. So right now I'm gonna go into FPV. Oh, I see you down there. This feels so weird in the goggles. It's kind of wobbly in like the multi-rotor mode. Try to find Dan. There he is. There you are. I'm gonna chase you. All right, so we know it hovers in VTOL mode. Should we go ahead and try out this fixed wing mode? Uh-oh. My goggles view is acting kind of weird. All right, so I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna keep my throttle a little past halfway, and I'm gonna flip into multi-rotor mode, or in airplane mode. So here I go. Here goes nothing. Okay, it got a lot faster all of a sudden, and it's still in stabilized mode though. I don't see that my props are down though. That's weird. Uh-oh. I just did a whole flip. So when I flip back into VTOL mode, I didn't have enough throttle, and that's what Ali Shimano was saying about when you flip into, oh wow, I'm in airplane mode now and I'm fine. I'm hauling ass. But he said when you have a low throttle, you have to watch out because you can basically stall out. And that's what I just did when I did a flip. But it recovered really fast, so that was impressive. Okay, so I'm in airplane mode now, you guys, and it does have stability on here. So basically all I have to do is kind of just, like I'm in multi-rotor mode, I can pretty much fly it like a drone. You still got me, Dan? Awesome. This thing is cool. So I don't feel like I'm flying like a fixed wing right now. I feel like I'm still flying a drone even though I'm in like airplane mode because of the stability. It's actually pretty cool. That's incredible, actually. That's good. RG Pilot seems to be doing its job. That is super cool. I'm gonna have to put a DJI 03 on here now that I know that this works good. It's a little wonky on the landing, coming on landing. I'm moving around a bit. I can see a little bit of wind would be difficult, but I'm gonna try to land on my pad. All right, awesome. Now let's see if I can get this thing to turn off. Come on, baby. There you go. So yeah, it came back in one piece, and we're pretty lucky because we did do a complete flip. When I flipped into airplane mode, I had the throttle below 50%, and that's where Ali Shimano said, like, be careful with that because, you know, I almost lost it. He did it line of sight, and we did it in FPV mode, and he was able to capture and get that on film. So hopefully you guys saw that footage. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. This has to be probably one of my favorite reviews of the entire year. And let's just talk about this little VTOL in depth and really get into what this is all about. Now, first and foremost, the price is only around $129. You can get it PMP without a flight controller, and you can also pay a little bit more money and get the flight controller already installed with ArduPilot pretty much already set up in there. So if you've never used ArduPilot, I know that's like a scary thing for people, but I don't have a ton of experience with ArduPilot. I do with Betaflight and iNav. And so once I dove kind of into ArduPilot and started really digging around, I realized it was kind of like a cornucopia of options, and it's so cool because you can dive as deep as you want to. It kind of reminds me of like the Photoshop of flight controller software. You can do waypoints, you can do loiter, it'll come back. Loiter is when it comes back and circles around the home point, it'll automatically return to land. I mean, it's some really cool stuff. So this has GPS on it, it has GPS return to home. It can take up to a 3S 5000 milliamp battery under this hatch. And I felt like the CG layout was a little bit further back than I would like it to be. I feel like the fuselage could be a little bit longer if I was to be critical about FIMI's design right here. I do like the fact that it is ultra portable. You can fly it on a 3S battery and a 4S battery up to 5000 milliamp. They're telling us that we can get a 45 to 48 minute flight time on a 5000 series pack, but I'm yet to see that. I want to test that more and really give you guys that data. Now, the power system that we have on here running these ESCs, 20 amp ESCs and 2004 series motors. Those are 2700 kV, and they're 3-in-1 ESCs on these vertical arms. So right now it's in multi-rotor mode, and if you flip a switch on your transmitter, the Boxer and Crossfire is native to this plane. So basically, once you bind up your Crossfire, you should, once you have some switches set up in your Boxer, you should already be able to start using these flight modes. This is so cool when these guys flip down like that into fixed wing mode. And then when you're flying in fixed wing mode, both of these motors work and the back one stops spinning. So that one becomes static, and then you're flying it like an airplane. But the coolest thing about it, and I told Dan this, was when we were flying it, when I was flying it in fixed wing mode, it has stability on there. You can also put manual mode on there and just fly like a regular RC airplane, like an FPV plane. But I left stabilize on just because it was my first time flying this, and flying in forward motion, it's not super fast. So you're not gonna be, you can fly this in a pretty small field, like something like a baseball field. You could get away with that and come back and land by the home plate. It's pretty slow. So you feel like you're going further than you really are, and you're just able to cruise and enjoy with the stabilization. And I told him it was kind of like, I still felt like I was in like multi-rotor mode, even though I was flying it in fixed wing because of the stability. It was just super easy. I just kept my throttle in the mid section here and pushed forward on this stick, and I just kept going. It was really, really neat. So I have to definitely recommend this for anyone that wants kind of like an all-in-one experience. If you've never flown fixed wing before, what a great thing to be able to take off vertically like this in multi-rotor mode and not have to kind of toss it and hope for the best. Like I have done that so many times with the fixed wings that I have here, and I have one right here to fly for you. This is the Penguin, already all set up with DJI. This is a twin engine, but it is not VTOL, so I have to toss this one and hope for the best on that flight test. So I'm not looking forward to tossing that for the first time. That's always kind of anxiety inducing when you have to do that with a fixed wing. But this baby takes off and flies up, get a good amount of forward speed, and you want to keep your throttle about a little above half throttle when you're switching into fixed wing mode, because otherwise you're going to go into a flip and it will automatically restabilize if you have stability mode in your fixed wing mode. And here you can see that the gyro is working. When I tilt it forward, they go up in the back, and it's set up kind of like Elevon status. For our flight test today, we tested out two different FPV systems. We tested out the DJI 03 with a decased module, and we also tested out Walksnail Avatar over here on the left. I wanted to show you some unstabilized footage with Walksnail, and that's nice 1080p FPV. It looked pretty good. It's a little bit blocky at times, but we're also testing out Lumineer's extra long dual antenna here. You can find the link for this one. This is a brand new AX2 duality long range antenna for DJI 03, and yeah, this is gonna be permanently installed on my VTOL because it gives me the maximum signal height away from all the RF and really separates a lot of the VTX data going back to my goggles. So that works out great. It's a pretty nice antenna and it's tall enough. But one thing I want to warn you about is that the magnets in this particular VTOL are not very big, and they didn't hold for this type of setup. Now I just put this antenna through here on a zip tie with a little bit of kind of electrical tape on here to hold it to the zip tie. Now normally I would use heat shrink, but I was in a hurry for the flight test, and the problem was that I didn't put pack and tape on top when I want to go into fixed wing mode on my second flight test with the 03 on board. Now it was working great out in the field. I didn't get to go out very far because what happened was this kind of came off, and when it did, it went into the motor here. Now the AX2 duality antenna survived that hit, but it also got chewed up on this side right here. You can see that gash right there. So the EPP foam is durable. It's pretty much, you could break this wing in half and glue it back together, and it'll be stronger with a little bit of foam safe CA glue than it was before. So that's the cool thing about this. It is very durable. EPP, if you don't know about it, it's great. You could crash this into a wall, a brick wall, and the frame will survive. Some of this stuff maybe not so much, but in my crash I also had it flip over, and so that's also what I wanted to tell you guys about and show you what happened there. Now when the Manta flipped over, the motors were still turning and it was kind of in flight mode, and it has a low idle on it, similar to what we call air mode with the FPV quads. And once it was in this low idle, something has to break here, and unfortunately before I was able to disarm the motors, the prop didn't break, which is kind of a testament to these 60-20 props, and so yeah, this came off here. It broke on the post. So unfortunately this post, it is fairly short, but it seems like it's pretty brittle plastic. You can kind of see it's fairly dry looking plastic. It doesn't seem to be like injection molded, and this is an example of an injection molded plastic post. Fortunately for me, I have an extra one that was in my shop, and I'm gonna have to cut this one to fit, but this will be much more durable back here in the tail. So I'm gonna cut off the bottom of this. I'm gonna trim around here and put this back on here. But my favorite toy was now broken at the field, unfortunately. So that's kind of a tip for people who might buy this VTOL. If it flips over the first time, you're probably gonna have this be the weakest link in this whole FIMI Manta. And just to show you guys, the FIMI width is 28 inches for the wingspan, and the fuselage length from front to back, the very back of the tail, is around 16.5 to 17 inches front to back. Now the canopy front to back here is around 6 inches, and from side to side we have about 3 inches or 2.5 inches worth of side to side space. So they say that we can fit a 3S 5000 pack in here, and this is a 4S Lion that has an XT30 on here. So if you're trying to figure out which battery you're going to use, I know that these work. Zod also makes some 4S 3500 packs, and I've been using these on my Zod planes for years, and they work great. These are 18650 packs. So that's what I would recommend. Fly a Lion on here. If you're flying something like a LiPo, you really don't really need the power or the extra power of a LiPo. The Lion's going to get you a much longer flight time. But what I was surprised about is, even though this has CG marks over here on the outside of the wings, mine really didn't make CG until I moved this flywheel battery all the way back to the carbon spar right here. So that was one thing about setup that was a little bit awkward. I wish there was kind of a longer fuselage front to back. Maybe for the next version they can make say a 60-inch version of this would be amazing, and plug and play like this is really easy to set up. But let's get a little bit closer and let me show you the layout of the flight controller. So now you're looking at the FIMI Manta flight controller. This is the one that came with the FC version. If you decide to get this, ArduPilot is already set up in here, which is pretty amazing. It is compatible with ELRS and TBS Crossfire for CRSF, which is also super great. And the harnesses are nice because it allows you to pretty much solder up your receiver to all of these wires that come in the kit. These harnesses come in your accessory bag, so they're long enough to reach the front of the aircraft and the back of the aircraft. You could also use this long wire to kind of space things out on the wing. So just an example of how this flight controller wiring is set up. There's not a lot of diagrams out there for this, so I just wanted to show you real quick in this video. If you're watching this, you follow along with this later and you want to plug in your ELRS or your TBS Crossfire antenna, it plugs in right here. This is where the RX plugs in. Down here is where the HD port that's pretty native for DJI 03 plugs in right here. You will have to solder up to the connector coming off your 03 and put some heat shrink around those wires. And if it doesn't show up at first, your OSD, you probably need to switch your TX and RX wires here to make sure your OSD shows up, because it was already all set up in ArduPilot for my DJI OSD, which was super cool. So HD OSD is on here. You can add things, move things around inside ArduPilot with OSD configurator, which is a lot of cool stuff to get into. So it also has a GPS plug back here, and this right here is where your left hand side ESCs plug into, and also over here on this side is where the right hand side plugs into. So that's pretty much the layout for this board. And the very front also, before I forget, it has an analog signal output interface and the input. So input is on this side if you're running, say, some type of analog VTX and camera. Input and output for analog in the very front. And we also have a black box data recorder right there with a micro SD card already installed. So, you know, if you want to run this one, you can. It's also compatible with other flight controllers now with iNav. Something like an F405 Wing is a great one from Maytech, and they've been doing me right for years. I love the Maytech brand, so you can definitely trust to install one of those and it will work in here. If you don't want to use ArduPilot, say you wanted to use iNav, they also have compatible ArduPilot flight controllers from Maytech as well. So honestly, for you guys out there who have been kind of fantasizing about flying a VTOL, I would say this is probably your easiest way into flying a VTOL as a novice. If you've never done it before, if you've already, say, flown a GPS quad with iNav on there and you're somewhat familiar with iNav, you can pretty much go into ArduPilot and set up some switches on your Boxer or your TX16S. That's also compatible. I know Ali Shimano was running the TX16S Max, and I also have that same radio, but I chose to use my Boxer, and it bound up with Crossfire. The DJI 03 OSD just showed up automatically. Walksnail did not. I had to tinker with it to get Walksnail OSD working, so that's really not my recommended route there. I would definitely go with something like the DJI 03 on there. It's just totally worth it, and you're going to come back with some beautiful footage. So it has performed pretty well, for the exception of my mistake, and I'm going to fix that. It is fixable, and that's how it goes with fixed wing aircraft. Sometimes you're just going to have crashes, and unfortunately for me, I didn't tape down my canopy as I should have. So don't rely on the magnets that come here. And you know, it was also my fault because this antenna is super tall and it just wobbles around up there, and it probably just wobbled off once I flipped into fixed wing mode, and bam, there you go, durability test for you guys. So good news for you is that you know in the future what to look out for with this one. But I am excited about this one, and I'm gonna definitely be flying this one more on the channel. I'm going to bring some more videos of the FIMI Manta because I just love it, and it's the first thing that I would want to pick up and take to the field over pretty much anything I have right now. It's just too cool to have both a drone and an airplane in one thing. So much fun. So I'm going to experiment with more of the ArduPilot modes as well, like return to home and loiter and return to land and things like that. So look out for that coming up on the channel. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm gonna space out some of my RX and GPS setup there. The Stockway, it's a little bit close to the flight controller for my opinion, so I feel like I'll get a better satellite lock. Sometimes if your GPS is too close to your flight controller, it'll take longer to get a lock. So just a little bit of RF interference slows those packets down. So just move it out to the wing out here, get it far away from all that RF, and separate all your electronic components on your FPV wings, and you'll be good to go. So I appreciate you guys watching my reviews. This has been the FIMI Manta. So exciting and pretty affordable for what it is. Outside of, you know, buying a DJI 03, it costs more than this aircraft itself. So I'm stoked on it. If you want to check out my link down below, that would be awesome. It does support the channel. And let me know in the comments if you bought one, if you're setting one up. I would love to know, and I'd love to hear from you. Please do share your videos on this video. Put it in a comment down below, because we would love to see your flights as well, wherever you're flying around the world. But again, I appreciate you watching the channel. Please do check out our FPV West events coming up. We have one coming up at the end of October. It's going to be a Halloween contest as well. So come out, fly FPV, dress up in your craziest Halloween costumes, and the winner is going to win some type of bind and fly drone. So yeah, I'm going to give away a drone at the next event, and I hope to see you and meet you there and make new friends. Guys, take care. I'm Justin Davis, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.